Good morning, everyone. We'll give it just about one more minute for some additional people to log on, and then we'll get started. Okay, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. Happy Thursday. My name is Beth, and I am one of the managers here with Higher Level. So today we're talking about something that I'm very excited to show you guys because it is so relevant, especially right now in the world we're living in. So 10 steps to make onboarding seamless. So onboarding isn't new to business. It's not a new practice by any means, but I feel like in the world of employee management, it's one of the most probably severely neglected areas that business owners and HR teams aren't taking advantage of. So it's really something that I'm passionate about in terms of consulting with our clients to streamline these processes. So hopefully today you have some takeaways and maybe even schedule some conversations with us in the future. So to get started, or where to even begin with onboarding, for the most part, we're going to be talking about how to automate it within our software, how to give an employee a better experience, and just going paperless altogether. We are managing employees from afar. Everybody's 6 feet apart, and just how do we continue to manage employees into the future? Because our workforce has definitely shifted to be remote, work from home. We see that continuing going into 2021. So this is a perfect time to be talking about this. So the very first thing when we talk about onboarding, when I'm talking with a client, is where do I begin? And that's with everything employee management. So we begin by talking about our current process. If you're currently, you have stacks and stacks of paperwork that you're having employees fill out papers, for hours at a time on their first day of work, this webinar is for you. This training is really for you. So I want you guys to evaluate what you're currently doing. Think about how much time you're taking, who's all involved, how long does it take to get somebody really on board, and then what kind of experience are you giving these new team members? And really evaluating that so you know how to make the first move. And don't be afraid to ask recent new hires, or may not even be super recent with everything with COVID right now, but ask them, what improvements do you think we could make? And that's really where you need to start. The next I want to talk about is culture and retention, and I'll show this in just a minute, but we're really going to be highlighting that as well and talking about how we can ditch the paper altogether. So I'm going to go ahead and start by showing you how to initiate onboarding into the system. And this may be new to you altogether, or maybe you're currently using this in the system, and so you're just looking for a better training or knowledge on the topic. So inside of iSolved, this is located underneath Employee Management Tools, Employee Hire, and Initiate Onboarding. Now, to set up your onboarding, we consult with you. We figure out how many templates you need. And what I need by templates is basically you might have several different jobs where you're collecting different types of paperwork, maybe certifications, things like that for each role. So we can have different templates to where we're collecting different information with each new hire. That could be full-time, part-time, what have you. So if you have different paperwork for certain people, that would be something that we would set up for you. So underneath Initiate Onboarding, and of course this would be a role that you've given to someone on your team, or maybe you're doing that yourself. We'll pull in the legal company, and I'm going to use Higher Level as an example as my demo. And a work location, say you have many offices or 2 or 3 offices, this work location is truly where they will be working at, because this does pull in their taxation, because you do typically pay taxes where you work. So we'll have that, of course, configured in the system. This onboard template, if you have more than one, you would just select the appropriate one. And then of course, move on to fill out first name, last name, and email address. That's the only thing that you need to have to actually send out a template to an employee. You don't need anything else. If you have this information down here, birth date, social, that's of course helpful, but it's not required. Really, the only thing to get this process started is a first name, last name, and email address. Now, if we have some labor breakups in the system for you, we can have that branch or location, department, etc. Include WOTC certification or the workers' opportunity tax credit. If you have, if you're hiring many individuals that fall into that category where you can get a tax credit on employing certain individuals that fall in those categories, we can capture that information and generate those documents needed to provide to your state, so you guys can take advantage of that tax credit. And if you don't know much about the WOTC stuff and you want to hear more about it, always feel free to reach out to your account manager or even myself, and I'm happy to talk into more detail about what that is. Application date, job offer, job accepted. We don't necessarily, again, need that, but it's here for you to fill out. And then of course, manager search. So that way that employee can be assigned to that manager as needed. So this is all you need to get things initiated. Again, this is after a consultative call with us to get the template built. So now what an employee will receive is this email right here. And it's basically going to say, welcome to your company. Congratulations on your new position. There's a link in this email. Their username is their email address, and then their password will be the last four. They'll have to set that up. They'll have to, this is a one-time link. So then after this, don't get confused with your self-service, where they'll have to also then register that again. So this verbiage is here just because I, of course, have many test accounts, but that's basically all they'll need is that link and their username, and they will set up their password. So I'm going to go ahead and log out here so I can click on this link. And it's going to take me right here to my higher level iSolved homepage. A question that we often get is, hey, I put in my credentials and nothing's happening, and it says it doesn't recognize it. If you're helping your staff, be sure that you always say, do you see the higher level at the bottom? It could be linking it to a different queue, but always make sure that higher level is right there. So I'm going to go ahead and log in as my employee in the onboarding. Bear with me. You will not see this. This is just simply because I have a lot of test accounts here. And so this is, again, something that we configure with you. And we're going to talk about some of these helpful tips too, and what this looks like for you, or what you could, back to that, evaluating what you're currently doing. So once the employee or your new hire logs in and they click on this link, this is a custom message that could be set up specifically for your organization. We have some templates that we can use if you didn't want to get creative, but that's their welcome message that you really the first thing that they're going to see. So I always encourage my clients to get a little creative and put something in there, because that's basically their warm welcome. So that goes back to one of my tips here, is that engage before day one, right? When we talk about retention, culture is one of the #1 things, especially right now in today's workforce. Today's talent really wants to feel a sense of belonging and to be integrated into your culture. So really be intentional about some of your messaging that you're having in here. Yes, we're collecting the mundane paperwork and we're getting that compliance piece squared away, but how can you engage your employees too at the same time? So engage before day one. When I sent out this onboarding template, I definitely encourage you guys to do that before they even come to the office or job site day one. Why? That of course eliminates the time on that first day, the uneasiness of, hey, I've started a new job. You've already gotten all the rough stuff out of the way, and then you've also given them a taste of your organization. So send this out before, a week before, 3 days before, and get all of that out of the way so that they can come to your organization on day one hitting the ground running. Okay, so welcome message, and then there's 3 little areas down here at the bottom. So documents and forms and links. What are the difference between these items? So inevitably, you probably have certain forms that you collect for your organization. You have maybe an emergency contact form you have them fill out. You have a handbook. You have, the list goes on and on. So documents that's basically an item that is something that you want them to read. It's not necessarily, it can be electronically acknowledged. Maybe it doesn't have any fillable fields on it. So it's just a document for their information. Here at higher level, we have some of our test documents in here for education reimbursement policy, volunteer benefit, and just a statement of understanding. So those are all documents that they're reading, not necessarily, actually they have an action to take on those documents. So then we have forms, and this is where I encourage you to get creative and revamp your forms. So I'll click on one here in just a moment to show them. So again, back to going paperless, getting rid of those filing cabinets and just collecting everything to where it's storing it electronically so that if you have to work from home, you have access to some of this. So does anybody else on your team that you grant access to. So if I click on one of these forms, and I'm just going to use our new hire bio for a minute, it's going to open a new tab, and here you'll see this is a form that our marketing team actually collects for our new hires to share across our organization. So we want to know, and we've made this a fillable form, which can be done through Adobe. And we're just collecting some basic information. We want to know a little bit about them. So they fill out these items, and once they've filled it, down here in the bottom left is a submit button. So once they submit that, then that will save into their employee documents and the completed information is there. Works wonders. The same with direct deposit. We do require that you guys get this and sent in to us, because in the event that we have to do some sort of bank transaction, we want to make sure we have their approval to do so. So all of those forms that you think, oh, there's no way, I can't, I've got all this stuff and I need to have copies of it. That's not necessarily the case. They can fill that out and by making it a fillable form. So getting back to evaluating your process and getting creative, look at what you're doing and what of those forms can be made fillable to where they're completing them electronically and it's saving to their profile. Links, and this could be a link to your website. This could be a link to, say, you have benefit offerings, so maybe Blue Cross Blue Shield, Health Alliance, some of those places. You could put that link right here. And then one thing that I really love to tell my clients is, really, we love videos here at Higher Level. If you haven't been to our Higher Level Facebook page or any of our social media, then you definitely should go do that, because we love videos and we get a lot of engagement with that. So whether that's you, the business owner, somebody that's the face of the company, make a welcome video, put it on a YouTube page, put it on somewhere in your, in your storage to where they have a link to go back and look at it. So they can watch that video. They're getting excited because they're already nervous about starting a new job. So use a link to add that engagement. So that's our difference in the 3. And again, if you have questions, reach out to your account manager or myself, and we can talk about what those different items are as we're helping you build a template. So this is a wizard-driven format, which basically means in this blue action bar, you're always going to see a next button. So we'll have to complete a little bit of things here with me. So hang tight while I complete this so I can move on to my next screen. So the great thing about this system too is that we have it basically where we can say if information is required or not required. So this stuff, of course, is relevant. It goes on their W-2, their paychecks, etc. So we have to have it. All right, here I can validate my social security number. I have that my birth date is required. And then, of course, phone number. And these are all required fields in our own template. Military status, you can obviously fill in that as well. Again, this is all customizable, which is why this is such a great solution for you, There's no cookie cutter experience for each company that we work with. So we want to make sure it's right and we're not collecting excess information. All right, disability self-identification. Compliance is really big, right? Compliance is one of my steps to a seamless onboarding, and we'll go into that EEO, vets reporting, and even the I-9 and W-4 collection. Some of this stuff you're required to keep on file for 7 years, you know, for some of those federal forms. So again, back to going paperless and collecting this information, doing so seamlessly, it just makes it that much easier on you. You know, this isn't just about the employees. This is also about you and how you're managing your staff. So for the sake of time, I'm just going to go through these. Same with EEO self-identification, male, female, do not wish to disclose, and with race and ethnic identification as well. So you can see as I click next, I'm getting a little green check. That means I've completed these. If I had an orange exclamation point, that means that I had not done that. And therefore I need to do it in order to submit this to my HR manager or the office manager. All right, so I-9, of course, where we're verifying eligibility to work in the United States. I-9 can actually be generated here, and also some of that WOTC, vets reporting and things like that. But the I-9 generates once they fill out this portion of this information. So that form is going to actually save into their employee documents for you to go back and view, and then validate their 2 forms of ID. So this does withhold in court. It is, you can use it. You know, a lot of people worry about audit and compliance, but you can use this. It just generates the information there. And of course, down here, the employee and also today's date. So one thing that we can also do that I'm really not going to touch on too much is we can use this onboarding to then also channel the E-Verify. So if you are in a state that requires E-Verify to be done, so Arizona, Tennessee, some of those guys, they actually require E-Verifies. We can have that basically integrated into where when you're making those new hires, you can also have them E-Verified. So I'm not going to complete this, but this will generate, again, that form. It will, you as the employer will go in and complete your portion, and then that will be saved in there. All right, tax information. Of course, the most confusing thing for employees to go through. You know, we get questions, thousands of questions a year on, hey, what should I put for my withholding? So hopefully, sorry, I went a little too fast, but this is, again, a wizard-driven format and hopefully is helpful. Now, of course, those of you that have experience with the 2020 W-4 know that it's not super clear on how to do it, but thankfully this is a wizard and it does help. Now, this W-4 picked up that I entered an Illinois address, and also it picked up my work location. So without getting too far into taxation, of course, we have some states that have reciprocity rules, and then we have some states where they're going to go ahead and pay that withholding in where they work. But we're just going to hit continue. We're going to start with our federal form here, answer this information. So if they need to do it in Spanish, they can. And so then I can see my status is not completed. I'm going to go ahead and hit start. And you can see that it's very informative. It breaks it down for them. You know, those W-4 printed forms are kind of intimidating when they see all that information on there. So I like this, and we have fewer challenges when employees are completing W-4s electronically as opposed to that form when they come into the office. So I want to file this form. I am exempt. We all know that very few people are truly exempt from federal withholding. Single or married, married filing jointly. We'll just go quickly through this. So here it asks them if they want to use the worksheet. There are only 2 jobs total, or none of the above. So if I wanted to use the worksheet, I can indicate those multiple jobs. And then of course it's going to prompt me to go through this information. I can also, from the wizard, I can click on this form and instructions, and I can see this here if I wanted to actually read that form. So some people do get a little panicky when they go through the wizard-driven format and they want to see this. So I'm just going to go right back here and say none of the above so we can skip through this. I don't have any dependents. I don't have any other adjustments. I'm just single and zero. So then if I scroll down here to the bottom, I can see where it's populated my information. It's giving me a preview of what my actual W-4 is going to look like. It's completed that employer's portion down at the bottom. And then once I check this box and sign off, there will be an electronic signature with a date stamp on there as well. And again, this document does hold up in court if ever needed. It is valid to be used and to collect electronically. The great thing is, not only did we collect this form, but this information is going to flow straight through to payroll, right? And talk about, again, back to evaluating our current process and improving our time. So once they submit that form, it's going to save in there. Their withholdings are now in, will be in the system once you validate it, and then payroll's ready to go. It's a single data entry source. So employee contacts, if I needed to add some contacts in there. This is really important if you guys are also using the benefits management portion of the software, and we can talk about, we'll mention that at the very end. So if you had beneficiaries and dependents you needed to add on for health insurance coverage, you could add that. Direct deposit, I can add that in here. And now, a fair warning to the direct deposit screen, we always advise that you require your new hires to collect either a voided check or a document from the bank, just to validate that routing and account number. We don't want to delay anybody's pay. We know you don't. Everybody needs their paycheck and they need it on time. So always validate that information that you're being provided, and then you can also require that they submit that. Another added bonus of having them do this before they come to the office that first day is more than likely they have that information at home. But if you're collecting that on day one, they might not have brought that with them. So definitely, or at least they can bring that with them and say, hey, I didn't have a scanner, but I've got a copy of it, or I uploaded a picture, what have you. So definitely a great thing to do. Another reason why we should do this at home if we can. Miscellaneous field. I love miscellaneous fields. So we can add in basically anything you want. I have clients who add driver's license, and I have people who add basically immunizations in there. For us, we're all about engagement. We work hard and play hard here at Higher Level. So we celebrate anniversaries and birthdays. So we want to know what your favorite celebration treat is. Charitable giving, we do charitable giving. If you, again, go follow us on our Facebook or go out to our website, you can see what we do there. We love to give back to our communities. So we do, as a team, we donate with a certain amount for each check. And then shirt size, we have, of course, hopefully a lot of you have seen our big high logos with our red t-shirts. So we want to collect that from our new hires, and getting it in the beginning just helps us then down the road. So, and then it also was like, oh, cool, they collect this kind of information. That's exciting, you know? I know if I were an employee filling out favorite celebration treat, then I know, hey, this is going to be fun. I'm going to get brownies at some point in time. WOTC certification. Again, this is for those tax credits. I'm not going to go into this, but if you need more information, please reach out to me. I'm happy to supply that. And then supporting documents here, this is where I was talking about uploading that voided check. So for direct deposit to be authorized, please upload a copy of a voided check or bank letter validating your account and routing number. You can also ask for those different forms of IDs for your I-9 verification. Of course, you do need to verify that in person, not just, of course, accept what was scanned electronically, but having that also in their record, you can request that here as well. That's pretty common. And then if you have certifications, we can add certifications in here. So this isn't all the menu items that are available. There are others. So if you have, say, a heating and air company, right, and you have some certifications there, or maybe CPR, you work in a doctor's office, really, this is, again, tailored to everybody. So once they are finished, they can go to this confirmation statement, and you can see I didn't fill everything out. I was skipping around. I didn't have everything, so I didn't fill it all out. But if I did fill it all out in its entirety, I would have a submit button, and that submit button would then, of course, trigger a notification to the workflow, to the person who was assigned to get the onboarding information. So whether that's you or an HR person, they're going to get a notification that this stuff was complete and being prompted to log on to the system to approve. So everything's been collected. Now when they come in that first day, you know, you're going to want to have a plan for what to do that day, but think about the hours you spend doing this stuff. You no longer have to do it. All right, so now I am going to log out and I'm going to log back in as an administrator to see where does this stuff actually live. All right, I can see how my employees do it. Looks simple enough, but what do I do? Oh, here we go. Okay. Actually, I picked my wrong one here. Hang on. All right. So back underneath here, under employee management tools, employee hire. So we had initiate onboarding, but now we have Pendingee Dashboard. So here I can see anyone, and these are my tests, but anyone that I sent out onboarding to. There is that recent activation link over here that in the event that somebody says, hey, I never got that onboarding you said you were going to send, you can click that button and it will resend that out. And then if I want to see where somebody's at in the process, there are these onboarding status steps. So allow new hire edits basically means that they've submitted and you are able to go in there and make edits. And then employee onboarding wizard just tells me that, hey, that employee is still in progress. If I click on the blue letters, so that is for anything in iSolved, it's a hyperlink. So in this case, it takes me to basically some cards that say, this is what they've collected, they've done so far. So I know, okay, they didn't do their tax information, their direct deposit, their missed fields, oh boy, they still have a lot to go. I need to communicate then, and communicate often, right? The more you communicate, the more successful this will be. So checking in on this and having a plan on, okay, I'm gonna send out my onboardings on Monday. By Wednesday, I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna check to see where everyone's at and maybe send out a reminder to say, hey, can you please complete this before you come in on your first day? So I love that we're able to see where people are at. In the event that this person had completed everything and they're ready to go, I have one of two options to then add this into the system to validate all of it. I can go to Quick Hire or New Hire Wizard. So Quick Hire is where I tend to tell people to go to. It's just the shortened version of a New Hire Wizard. And I need to first, of course, check the box that says which one I want to do a Quick Hire on. And it will take me, and if those of you, if you're moving in January, you might not have seen this screen before, but if you're already on the iSolved system, this is that Quick Hire screen where we can add employee information. So it pulled everything that that employee would have completed in here, and basically you as a manager or an HR, then you have to go and finish that ending information. So employment category, full-time, part-time, contract, whatever we have set up for you. Down here, you would enter their salary information because, of course, our new hires aren't telling you how much they're getting paid. And then over here, job and workers' comp, if that's something that we collect for you, you would be able to pull that in as well. So there's very little that you have to do to actually get them into the system. So your employees are doing the legwork for you. You're going paperless, you're keeping compliant. I mean, it's really a win-win for everybody. So once you add it all and you hit save, that's your single data entry point. So now that employee is in timekeeping, if you're using our automated timekeeping, the benefits eligibility will trigger. They're ready to go. This box right here that enables self-service will send them an email to access their self-service account. So it's already ready. So of course, we think, oh, this is just getting payroll ready, but no, this is getting everything else employee management related. Of course, there's a slew of other things that we can do in the system, but that employee's information is all, it already lives there. I don't have anything. Of course, I didn't complete it. But for employee documents, if you wanted to actually see the documents that they completed, you could go to Employee Management, Human Resources, Employee Documents, and that would show those documents that you ever, if you ever needed to print them out or review, etc. Okay, so we talked about, evaluating your current process, mapping out what you'd like it to look like, adding a little attention there on the culture and retention part of things. Back to 22% of turnover actually happens within the first 45 days of a new hire being hired. That is an astounding amount. And of course, you have your money you've invested in recruiting, money you've invested in, hiring somebody on, the time that was spent. So how do you reduce that cost? And of course, retain. I mean, that's ultimately our goal. And then we did talk about getting creative and revamping those forms, making them fillable, looking at what we can have the system create or collect, say in those miscellaneous fields. Compliance, compliance, compliance. We live in a world of compliance, and those regulations are just getting stricter and stricter by the day. So really think about how you are staying in compliance, those E-Verifies, that I-9, your W-4, keeping all of that information on file. We never purge data out of this system. It will always live there for as long as you are in this database. It will always be right there. Engaging before day one. Approving employee information from a single data entry point. So doing it one time, not having to send stuff to your payroll account manager or across different departments. And then following up to all of this is just keeping it consistent, coming up with a consistent process so that it's easier for you to stay on top of, which automating alone is going to do for you. And then for your employees too, you want to keep it a consistent process. You could also create a checklist. So this goes beyond the system, but what other things go into onboarding? So we know that onboarding isn't just the collection of information, but that also is your training, your feedback and check-ins, and your hands-on support. That's getting an employee an email address, that's signing them up with whatever software you have in the system. So having an internal checklist that way when they're coming, they don't feel uneasy. If you have it well organized and consistent, then again, it just gets you going at a faster pace. So employers lose 17% of their new hires within the first 90 days. It was 22% at 45 days and then 17% at 90 days due to ineffective onboarding. So I'd really love to help eliminate that number for you. Altogether, obviously, of course, there's such thing as good turnover, but we're hoping that we hire great candidates and we can help with recruiting in that sense. And this really does go beyond the collection of data. So there's a lot of other options for onboarding. What comes to mind for me, benefits eligibility. If you offer health insurance and you have to remember to get, say after 30 days, an employee is eligible for health insurance, there are steps that we can take in the system to automate that process as well as some of those training needs. And so if you feel like you're spending a lot of time on employee management in some of these areas, I would, again, get creative, give us a call, schedule something, and let us consult with you. That's ultimately what we're here to do with you as a partner as well, is consult with you on how to manage your employees, use the software as it's made to do, use the HR side of it, the payroll, the time, and just save more time for yourself. There are tons of other things that I'm sure each of you would love to be doing. So I'm going to go ahead and open the floor to any questions here. There's nothing in the chat. If anybody here has questions over the next 2 minutes or so, you feel free to send that to the chat. Otherwise, if you're interested in this, if you're on this call, we will be doing some promotions, and really we do this all year round. Free 30 days of onboarding services, so you can give it a try to see if you like it, because we see the value in it, we see the return on investment. We really want the clients to not neglect this side of things and use it to help your business improve. Okay, I don't see much action there in the chat box here. So I'm going to go ahead and end this presentation today. You'll have a follow-up email with these 10 steps. And then also, again, you can always call. Again, this is Beth. And you can talk to your account manager. You can talk to me. I'd love to talk through this with you individually. But hopefully this gave many of you some insightful information if you're currently using this on how to manage it, or maybe you're just interested in how do I manage my employees from afar, right? I hope everybody has a wonderful Thursday and really the rest of the year. Hopefully we end that on a good note. Take care. Thank you.